into the mountain, into the sea. It's breakfast with Bob.
Honcho Man! Welcome back to day 3, Breakfast with Bob. We're brought to you by HOKA, One, Polar, Halo Neuroscience, Velofix. Today's plan, Normatec, Four Seasons Resort, Hualalai, Triathlete Magazine, and we're at beautiful Huggo's on the Rocks. Our next guest, 6-time Wildflower champion.
All right.
More importantly, podium at Challenge Roth.
That's right.
Mr. Jesse Thomas.
Thank you. Yes, thanks. Thanks a bunch for having me, Bob.
No problem. How fun is it not racing?
It's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I'm not. That's not. There's a small piece of me that that's missing it, but the much bigger piece of me is pretty excited to have a cheeseburger on Saturday afternoon and while those guys are out on the marathon.
Or get 18 in while we're on the bike.
Exactly.
You could do all sorts of stuff.
So
you're one of those guys balancing family, racing, and business. Picky Bar has gotten to a point where it's taking a lot more of your time. It's
Definitely
become a real business.
Yep.
And you get to that point where it's sort of go big or go home.
Yeah.
When you have a business.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Literally, yeah.
And it seems like you're sort of at that point.
Yeah, I think, with the big race at Roth, for me, and kind of accomplishing everything I wanted to accomplish there, it wasn't the original plan. The original plan was to keep racing through the end of the year, but it just felt like a natural time for me to take a break, take a step back, spend some more time with family, and then really put a lot of focus into the business. We've grown so much the last couple years, and I can see more and more as we have 8, now 10 full-time people that if I'm not in the office, full-time, it has a big impact.
If you're out riding your bike.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And so the time that I spent kind of during my short break after Roth and really sensing that, and I just felt like I need to focus here for a little while and take that kind of up a level and do the best that we can.
So
it's been really good.
I love the fact the last couple of years, Ironman Wales,
Yeah.
Lanzarote, you're going to races you want to go to, parts
Yeah.
of the world to see if you've been racing a long time, see the world, and really get a chance to experience triathlon in sort of its purest form.
Totally.
Challenge Roth is about as pure as it gets. 250,000 people on the course. Amazing race. And you had 3 goals going there.
Yeah. It was wanted to podium, ideally wanted to podium, wanted to run under 2:45 in the marathon, and I wanted to break 8 hours in the
3 for 3 hat trick.
3 for 3. Yeah, it was an amazing day. I rolled the dice big time to get what I did, but everything came together luckily for me, and one of those days where you just like the whole run, you kind of like just thinking like, career day, even though it was incredibly painful as all, kind of Ironman distance races are, but it was fun.
Talking painful, so early part of the bike.
Yeah.
You got Sebastian Kienle, you got Cam Werf, and you got Jesse Thomas going, I'm going to stay with those guys.
Yeah. Sebastian kept looking back at me every once in a while, and then after the race, I'm not even going to try his German accent, but you have to imagine the German accent, and he's like, "Geez, man, you were going crazy back there. What the hell were you thinking?" And every time he looked back at me and I was still there, he just, because he knew, Cameron was obviously riding real strong up the front, and Cameron was up front, Sebastian was second, and I was just sticking my nose in there in third as long as I could, and then we went through half at about 2:04.
Which is that a PR for you?
Pretty dang close.
For half?
Yeah. I averaged the same watts that I did at Wildflower.
Right. And knowing you have to do it again.
Yeah, totally. And so I knew, and then I just cracked, and it was cracked like it was like full just eruption gone. Another Andy Dreitz went by me like 20, 30 miles later. And he told me afterwards, he's like, when I saw you, I thought that you were not going to finish the race.
that's
in a very kind way, he said that.
Very nice confidence, yeah. So now you basically went so hard the first lap.
Yeah.
You're surviving the second lap.
Yeah.
And then you got to go run a marathon.
Yeah, it was weird. The like I said, the rolling of the dice thing ended up working out because even though Andy passed me and I was passed by another person, I was still in, I guess, 5th or 6th place.
Yeah.
And so I was in a great position, and I had ridden just under 420, which I knew that if I had a decent swim and I rode around 420, then if I had a good marathon, I was going to crack 8 hours. And so I just went out there and I just tried to forget about how hard the bike ride was and just said, I'm just going to run 240 pace until I can't do it anymore.
Roll some more dice.
And that's exactly what I did. And I made it to about 12 and a half, 13 miles. And then it started to, as all Ironman, races do, it started to come backwards, but luckily was able to hold on enough to slide right in there at 244 and 7:54 finish time.
And that is one of the best finish lines in sport.
Yeah.
In terms of on Monday of race week in Roth, there's a grass field.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, they start building a stadium for 10,000 people.
It's a legitimate stadium.
A stadium, yeah. We're talking big screen, but there's nothing there on Monday. But by Friday, there's a full stadium. Yeah. And with 10,000 people in it.
Yeah, it's a moment. It's a moment for sure. I'll never forget. Like running up into that stadium, knowing that I had accomplished those goals. My family was right there. So they I could wave at them and see them as I was, and they were. Everybody was awake. my wife and my 5-year-old son and my daughter, who was about 8 months, were awake and waving and excited for me. And it was awesome. We poured beers on each other, and it was great. It's a great moment.
And you decided at that point, okay, it's about the business, about picky bars, and then over the winter, and now you have a chance to focus. Are you thinking of bringing in some big investors, or trying to figure out what to do next? You are an MBA. This is your.
Well, that's what we're looking at. We're it's the business has grown. No pun intended, but organically over the last 7 or 8 years while I've been competing full time, and it's doing really well. But I think we're now out of that kind of little business phase and into the kind of adolescent phase where we're trying to compete against guys that are much more established, have much more money, financial backing than we do, and it's hard to do.
Trying to get shelf space.
Yeah,
and all
totally.
that stuff in the big chains. Yeah.
So looking at getting help with that. Financially and expertise-wise, and that requires me to really focus on it for a little while, and then we'll see if I can bring in somebody that maybe can be like a high-level operator. Then maybe that gives me a little bit more bandwidth to go back and race. But for right now, I need to kind of focus on that for a little bit and see how it goes. And then I'm just enjoying doing it too. That's the other thing. Like the problems are new, they're different, they're interesting. And not that there aren't lots of amazingly interesting problems in triathlon, because there are as well, but it's just fun to go try to solve those problems too.
Love it.
So
Jesse, always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, thank you
so much. Thanks so much for taking time.
Yeah, really appreciate
Jesse
it, guys.
Thomas, everybody.
Into the mountain, into the sea. It's breakfast with Bob. Breakfast with Bob. Chee.
Nice job.
Nice job, Bob. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.